To a great extent, many of us are simply putting up with stuff at work. I talk partly from personal experience, but also from listening to many of those I come into contact with. So, is your work environment toxic? Various sources point to approximately half of employees in the UK being unhappy in the workplace. Surely this isn't desirable or even acceptable. So why are you putting up with a toxic work environment? I think this often happens quite innocently before it builds up unconsciously over time. Initially, we accept something that conflicts with us temporarily as a kind of compromise. These things can often be something quite small or seemingly insignificant. But our initial easiness can transform into a greater intolerance and ultimately transform into acceptance that that's just the way that things are and we need to just get on with it. This can be much harder to shift as many of us then feel stuck with that situation. Going on like this could be because we don't want to cause a fuss or be seen as difficult or rock the boat or disturb the status quo, upset other people or appear selfish. It could also be because we lack the confidence or the skills to be able to deal with it properly. All of these reasons are understandable in isolation, but many of them can point to low personal self-worth. Just putting up with things can bring disengagement and breed resentment. If left unchecked, this could ultimately develop into other issues, including poor physical and mental health. So what is a toxic work environment? Many people don't even realise what they're putting up with at work. What's more, it can also manifest across a variety of life elements too. Here are some examples to help draw your attention to what may be making your work environment toxic. Number 1, your boss. Now, there are some great people managers around, but sadly there are also many poor ones. Definitions of what constitutes a poor manager could differ, but could include not setting clear objectives and expectations, having unreasonable or unrealistic expectations, providing inadequate support, micromanaging, lack of recognition, even taking the credit, poor at giving feedback, displaying inappropriate behaviours. Number 2, colleagues. In addition to managers, we also often have colleagues to contend with. Now, you may be part of the best team around, which can be fantastic. Alternatively, you may be subject to unacceptable behaviour, general poor working behaviours, but also tardiness, poor meeting etiquette, etc. Not pulling their weight, allowing others to accept responsibility, picking and choosing what work they'll do, their whims and their moods. Number 3, pay. Now, most people would like to be paid more. It's a reflection of the value they deliver after all. However, there are certain financial things that people often put up with, including not getting the going rate for their efforts, time and services. This could be because they've been internally promoted, taking on additional responsibilities without the pay. In addition, they could well be paid less than their peers or those in comparable roles for a variety of different reasons. Number 4, working conditions. Now, it's difficult to please everyone all of the time, but working conditions aren't always conducive to productive work. So what are you putting up with? Is your working environment too hot, too cold, too dusty, too smelly, too loud, too quiet, too cramped? What is it? Number 5, work-life balance. Many UK employees have a poor work-life balance, scoring near the bottom at 24th out of 25 similar economies, according to a recent CIPD report. Sometimes this poor work-life balance could be part of the contract, but often it's simply expected as part of the work culture. Do you work antisocial hours, including early mornings, late nights and weekends? Are you expected to work regular overtime, whether paid or not paid? Do you think this is fair? Number 6, recognition. Recognition can come in different forms. It doesn't have to be grand or extravagant to bring value to the recipient. However, it's often conspicuous in its absence, with no thanks or acknowledgement shown. This also ties to failure to be compensated accordingly. Number 7, progression. Let's consider your opportunities to progress where you are. Is there a clear and fair path to progression, or is there no realistic chance to develop either sideways or upwards? Maybe you've made your plans clear, but you've been overlooked or even sidelined. Number 8, development. Sadly, many employers allow little time or budget, if any, for personal or professional development. Are you expected to perform at a certain technical or professional level without the appropriate level of investment and support from your employer? Generally, most workers enjoy learning new skills when they feel the benefit from their new capabilities. Number 9, commute. So how about your commute? The average commuting duration for UK commuters is around 45 minutes, but rising year on year. Most people are probably far more tolerant than I'll ever be on this front. Is it too far, too time-consuming, too unpredictable, too stressful, too expensive? I know over the last year, more people than ever have been working from home, and it's great to have proven that this is possible. But I think there's going to be lots of employers that are going to expect their employees back in the office as soon as it's safe. So is your work environment toxic? What can you do? So you've identified something that's making your work environment toxic, maybe even more than one. Now, I'm not saying that all of these things are simple, nor can be easily resolved, but we do generally have more choices than we might imagine. We also have responsibilities to ourselves as much as to other people. So here are a few steps that you can take. So step 1, self-awareness. What are you putting up with? Start to notice and write a list of things that you're putting up with. Was this a surprise or were you already aware? How and why is this happening? Step 2, priorities. Determine what's important to address and how to do this. Think small and simple to begin with, and this will give you the confidence and motivation to continue to those higher priorities. Step 3, action. Pick one at a time to be addressed. Do it. Enjoy the feeling and celebrate that success. Then repeat steps 1 to 3 again. Even if you don't consider your work environment to be toxic, it's probably fair to say that many of us are simply putting up with stuff at work. Now, there are many reasons for this, all perfectly rational and reasonable in isolation, but these can compound over time, taking us from easiness to tolerance to acceptance. Now, it's key to remember that you are not stuck in the here and now, whatever you think. You have choices and you can move forward. You don't simply have to put up with things that aren't acceptable to you anymore. Are you ready to take the first step? Set up a complimentary one-on-one call with me and explore what options you have.